name of the thing, we'll start off with Sugarloaf. That's what we're here about. And we'll have some views of Greers Creek Dam, Brattleville Falls. All of those are not a big surprise. Libby Bluff, Slick Rock Ford, a little Red River peculiar crook in it, Big Creek area in eastern Cleburne County. Haystack Rocks didn't make the cut. Chimney Rocks out of Concord, Yellow Bluffs up in the Prim area, in the lake area around Hickton, Edgemont, and Greers Creek. And not to leave out the equipment area, there's an interesting bridge at across Cadron Creek, North Equipment, and we'll end up with a view of Eden Isle. Okay, Mickey Barnett and I got Charlie Evans, our local airport manager, a couple of years ago to take us on an air tour. We kind of laid out a plan of scenic places we'd like to see. And so we did that, and these are, many of these pictures are from that tour. This is a look at Sugarloaf. This is ASU down here, looking at it from that angle. This is the Little Red River behind it. Okay, moving on around, this is the east side. This is looking back towards Southridge Village. And notice the base trail, this is ASU over here. The base trail goes around this site. The opening up the base trail has opened up this site. Few people had ever seen that before. Interesting thing, if you take the base trail, the mountain is clearly eroding on that side. There are huge boulders all the way out to the trail, which is out of this region. And you don't see that on the other side. This is on the south side. And right here is the abandoned Pontiac that's achieved some fame. These are the houses along the Little Red, Placers with the off to the Swinging Bridge is off to the right. ASU over here again. Okay, this is looking back towards Swinging Bridge there, ASU over here. Just different views. It still comes as a surprise to me to look at how rectangular the top of that actually is. When you look at it from the ground, that you don't get that impression. Okay, moving on, we'll show you some views of Greers Creek Dam, which probably are nothing new, but this is, you don't often see pictures from this angle. And that's, to me, it's kind of impressive. That little bit of concrete's holding back an awful lot of water there. Moving around a little bit, the overlook over here. Overlook, looking back across that way. And the more traditional view, a lot of people have seen views like that. Okay, Brattleville Falls, so most of you know about that, but it's such a spectacular place, and it's been recently improved dramatically for access. With the Warning Rotary Club has worked hard to put in a walkway and improve the access. And these are some pictures when the water level was high. This is the stream coming down to the top of the falls. This is looking downstream, the falls, below the falls. And this obviously was in the fall of the year. Best views when the leaves are gone. This is the other falls on the far side of it that sometimes called the Cascade, that are spectacular in their own way. Okay, this is the new walkway and railing that the Rotary Club has recently installed, and that they've had a plaque made, and they're going to install that on a massive boulder and have a dedication ceremony here in a couple of weeks. They're to be commended for the work they've done on it. The city, I believe, built the overlook platform down here. That's a testament to the cooperation of the private sector, or the young businessmen club on the property, but they didn't have the resources to do anything with it, so it was only known by the locals. And But the city worked out an agreement with the Young Businessmen's Club where they would open up the parking lot and built the overlook and made it much more accessible. And it is, and put up signs. It is widely used now, a great success story. The little trails around there, this is used, kind of hard to get perspective, but this is looking down on probably a 30-foot high rock outcropping. There's spectacular mosses all around there, rock formations are interesting. So there's a lot of stuff there that's neat besides the falls. Okay, moving on down the road, this is Libby Bluff, this outcropping here. The picture doesn't do it justice. This area right here is the Wildflower Subdivision, I believe it's called. You access it off Hiram Road, east of town. To the people living there, and it's public road, you can drive down there, that looks like Yosemite. Here's a topographical map with a view. This is the direction the picture's made. You see this little horseshoe lake in the development. And the bluff land is right here. And what it was a rock quarry built at around 1910. And it primarily supplied rocks for the roadbed of the railroad that came through here. The railroad went out of business in 1946, and the rock quarry closed down about that time. The Little Red runs right along here. Highway 337 runs right along here. You can't really see this rock from Highway 337. You're really too close to it. But it's if you go down to the Wildflower Subdivision, it's a pretty spectacular thing. Okay, moving down to the southeast corner of the county, this is a place called Slick Rock Ford. How many have been to Slick Rock Ford in here? I don't see very many hands. Oh, there's one. It's a pretty spectacular place. It's a low water bridge. It was just barely adequate, obviously, this time. Normally it's not that high. This is a topo map of the area. Pankburn's up here. And Pine Snag, if you've ever seen the sign for Pine Snag on Highway 16, there is a road that goes down and crosses this is Big Creek South. There's two big creeks in the county. So Slick Rock Ford crosses about right here and comes out at Pickens Chapel on highway, then come back to Latona and on to 16. Just looking downstream from the water bridge. Looking upstream, that shows the bridge there. Spectacular looking scenery. Okay, this is thrown in here. This is the Little Red River. It does a lot of twists and turns around here. This little bend is not far from Pankburn. Pankburn is off to the lower left in this picture. Highway 16 would be just across the corner up here. The river comes generally east, turns south, ran into something there and headed back up and decided, wait a minute, this is uphill, and turned around and went back up. This little indentation here is the roadbed of the old railroad. It came along as close to the river they could because they didn't like grades, but it's really tight fit, so there was no room to put a highway in there. So Highway 16's up on the hillside. Okay, this is the Grand Canyon of Cleburne County. This is Hiram Bluff. This picture's made from the air. The bluff is about 200 feet high. This is Highway 110 that comes from Wilburn, head towards Pankburn to the left. This is the little Hiram Church that's out there. There's parking area all alongside this. They made a berm there to keep people from driving or falling over the edge. And a couple of incidents actually occurred. So it's not obvious when you drive over there, but if you pull off and park, walk over the berm, spectacular view out across the canyon there. Big Creek comes down and follows around the bluff this way. It's what carved out the bluff. In the 1920s, they built a dam across the Big Creek right about here. And we're going to generate electricity. They actually generated electricity for a short time. It was an earthen dam, in the heavy rainfall washed it away the first winter. It was never rebuilt. There are remains of it now. I'll get to a little bit later. The state has bought part of the canyon from about this point, including the dam site, upstream for a ways. The Big Creek Natural Area. Okay, this is a map of the area. Heber Springs, Wilburn, Pangford. So the little dip in little red that I showed you a picture of a while back is right here. This is Highway 16, Highway 337. So this is Libby Bluff that we talked about. Okay, the State Natural Heritage Commission has bought over 2,000 acres. This parcel was bought in, I think, the 1970s. This one was bought since 2000. And then this is the part that encompasses the canyon down there. The natural area is intended for public use, but there's no motorized vehicles, and depending on the natural area, they may or may not have any facilities. There is a parking area, and they have some marked trails in this part of the park. And it's an incredible asset to the area. To get there, you go to Wilburn, take Tyler Road, out to Center Ridge Road, Center Chapel Road, I think it is. You go straight out there, you'll come to a sign that directs you to the parking area. Then there's the marked foot trails there. This area does not have any marked foot trails for access to this time. That's a sign you come to at Center Chapel Road and Center Ridge Road. This is a view from the trail on there, looking off to like a 200-foot bluff. The creek is down below there. This is looking into timber farms, which are accessible to it's a wildlife management area. It's not open public except in people with a permit in hunting season. But the natural area, that is not the case. Big trees, big rocks. You go down to the creek, looks like that some places. Okay, this is a topo map. When we recently went down there, and this is a parking area. We're carrying a GPS with us, so we took the hike. This is the marked trail, which is about 1.25 miles around. And some of those pictures were made. This is looking off this bluff into the wildlife management area. And then you walk along blufflands down here also. And then down here, there's a loop that goes down to creek level. So pretty easy hike, about 1.25 miles. Little used. They have little markers on trees. Easy to follow. Great thing. Few people know about it. That's looking off that bluff. Trees are in bloom. This was made about a month ago.
Cleburne County has its own Grand Canyon.
Okay, this is the south section. This is the Hiram Bluff that we showed you earlier. And this is the site of the dam, the 1920s dam, backwater up the canyon here. So the state has bought from the top of the bluff on both sides up to this bend. The property, this again, we carried a GPS and walked down there. This is about this steep incline. It's not really an official trail, but you don't have to climb over a bluff to get down it. 300-foot drop in a breathtakingly short period of time, especially coming back up. So we got down there to the creek level, and I'll show you some pictures we made from there. The video that was playing for you people that were here before was made, the Big Creek Natural Area was made down here. We didn't show it, but we found a copper container down there. Anybody knows anything about making moonshine, copper containers have their purpose. We figure it was it looked well used. This is kind of interesting. Obviously, the creek had been up fairly recently. We went in there. This is there's a lot of cypress trees there. We noticed this bark had been rubbed off this, and first we thought, my gosh, that's the biggest bear we ever heard of. Then we realized that was debris from the water rushing by, crashing into the tree, and rubbed the bark off there. Okay, moving on up Big Creek. Big Creek on the north side runs into the Little Red just below Pangburn, goes by the Hiram thing, winds its way up there, other spectacular bluffs all the way up there around those bends. One access is at Trestle Hole, which is north of the community of Tyler, which is Tyler's extinct. There was a viable community there until about the 1950s. And now it's all timber farms, so there's nothing out there but memories and a few wells, storm cellar or two. And there is the community of Shove-It. There's one resident out past Tyler, near the county line over there, and he's put up a handmade sign that says, "Shove-It, Arkansas, population 2." And then on the fence post it says, "Reading the Bible is a really good way to go to heaven. It's much quicker to trespass on this property." Okay, this is a low-water bridge across Trestle Hole a couple of years ago. A really neat place. The creek is, there's a pool above and below, and timber farms on both sides. People have informally used that as a picnic area for years. Low-water bridges is exactly what it says. This time it was marginally. When the Bologna tornado came through, last year, it played out about Highway 5 down there, turned into torrential rainstorm, dumped over a foot of rain and through this area up to Batesville. That's what happened to the low-water bridge. The county, thanks to FEMA, has built a real bridge there now. Gravel road going down there, but incredibly spectacular scenery. Okay, moving on up towards Concord area. This is a Google satellite view looking down on what's called Chimney Rocks. These are rock formations down here. This is a building called the Cow Palace. These are stock pens. These are obviously chicken houses. Chimney Rocks is a spectacular feature. This is a aerial view of the side of it. Chicken houses in the background. These are maybe 100 to 150 feet high. Some of them are freestanding, and many of the freestanding ones eventually crumble and fall. There's debris around there from them. This is another view from our ground level looking out across there.
Have anybody in here ever been there?
Okay, it's privately owned. It's a cattle farm. For years, it was, well, for 100 years or more, it was a community meeting place before people were worried about trespassing and all that kind of stuff. Here's a group there in 1925. This freestanding thing, which is shaped like a giant boot, is called Name Rock. There's a guy standing on it up there, and people have etched their names in the sandstone, and they gradually fade out over time. Today, it looks like that. It's a working cattle farm. They have high-dollar Brangus cattle there. They have an auction arena up there, which they have auction a couple times a year. A friend of ours has a geology degree. He took a look at that and said, to him, that's a calendar. You know, every one of these layers was laid down over time. So the higher you go, the later it is. But Mickey's the oldest person I know, and he can't remember below about the first foot there.
Yeah, some of that I just can't remember.
Okay, this is another view from the aircraft of it. This is the rock formations here. This is the Cow Palace. That's where the auction arena is in one end. And they have a banquet facility there, which is the best banquet facility between Little Rock and Fayetteville, at least. You can rent it for weddings, events, birthday parties, whatever. It's like a Western lodge or something like that. It's just a spectacular place. They have liquor license if you're so inclined, you can do that. If you ever get a chance to go, the Cattlemen's Association has their annual thing there sometimes. If you ever get a chance to go, I highly recommend it. It's just to see the place. It doesn't include the tour of the rocks, but it's worth the trip if you ever get a chance.
Before we leave that, Charles, let me say, folks, you have to be there to get the sense of what it feels like in those rocks. Some young people from Hebert down through the years since I've been growing, I wasn't one of these, but to some people, there's a really mystical quality about that rock formation. And I know some people, I knew them as young people that would go out there and do their meditation and their yoga and stuff. They're now, those young people I'm talking about are now 50 years old. But it's always had some eerie sensation for certain groups in and around that rock formation.
There are caves around there too. Several of them have a very smoked up top, so they clearly were involved in the moonshine operation too.
You got a question?
Is there any way that there's a tour, an annual tour?
Charles would know the answer to that. I don't.
I know of none, but the owners are big time cattle business now, so maybe if you buy a hamburger out there while they're at
listen, it's in our mind at the Historical Society. Now, have you done Candlestick?
Yeah.
Okay. Both Candlestick and this for us at some point in time to hopefully get permission and have a led tour where we take a group into both of those things to see those things. And if you're interested in that, leave your name and address and phone number at the Historical Society. And if we ever, I'm not promising this, but if we ever do that, we'll have a list of people to call.
Okay, moving on. That's number 9 up at Concord. 10 is Yellow Bluffs up between Prim and 5 Mile area. Okay, then another really spectacular thing. This is Beach Fork, is that right? Yeah. Of the Little Red. It's above the lake level, and this is made from some distance away, but these are distinctive bluffs, and there's all kinds of tales about who's hid out there and hid their stashes and whatnot. There legends abound for what has gone on at Yellow Bluffs in the past.
For anyone that might sort of know about that north part of the county, Coon Creek, then Beach Fork, and all that becomes Devil's Fork of the Little Red River, if you're familiar with those three branches, those three upper reaches of the Little Red.
Yeah, on this map here, Coon Creek comes down here, Beach Fork comes down here, and forms Devil's Fork, which runs down there. Okay, now moving on over, this is at Edgemont. This is the Edgemont Bridge. Greer's Ferry's to the right. This is Middle Fork, comes down and joins the Devil's Fork. And then they flow in and down through the Narrows to the lower part of the lake. This is Edgemont, and this is the Edgemont Narrows. The railroad generally followed the river bed all the way as much as they could. And then to keep from going around this point, they made a big cut right across here called the Edgemont Cut. Here's a picture of it looking to the north. This is the Middle Fork. And this is, you can see the lower end of the cut. When they built the present highway, they filled in the cut, but they left there's a bridge standing there across the cut. This is the bridge. It's and this was the cut where the railroad came through. Built in 1936 by O.B. Robbins as a contractor in one of the WPA type programs. We recently got that bridge listed on the National Register of Historic Places as a for the reason it was built in the WPA, and it was really a railroad overpass, the only one that ever existed in Cleburne County. It's still standing. Okay, this is a view down the Narrows. This is the Narrows Bridge, and this is Higdon area, Greersbury to the left. Diamond Bluff would be over here. This is the Narrows Bridge looking back toward the other Sugarloaf, and the marina up at Greersbury. Higdon area is along here. Okay, not to leave equipment out. I'm kind of like unique bridges. This old bridge is across Cadron Creek. It's on a county road northwest of Quitman that's still there. Most of our old bridges with character are extinct. For travelers, that's good news. And this is a view of Eden Isle, looking back towards the northeast. Big duck.
Do they know where we got these pictures, John?
Yeah, I told them about that. That's our tour.
We bought them.
So there you have it. You've toured the county from Sugarloaf, Greersbury Dam, Rattleville Falls, Libby Bluff, Slick Rock Ford, River, the Big Creek area, all the way up through here, Chimney Rocks at Concord, Yellow Bluffs,